Hi everyone, this is Katie Groves, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Karly Noel. I know that a lot of you guys have wanted to hear my thoughts about her recent video about us, and have wanted to hear more of my thoughts in general. And I have been reluctant to say too much because I feel that this is an extremely delicate situation, and it would be too easy to cause harm in multiple different directions. But at this point, I feel like I have no choice but to say what I think. When I first saw Karly Noel's channel appear on YouTube, I was in a space of extreme shock and overwhelm because my channel had just taken off and I was being flooded with comments and emails. So I waited to watch her videos until I felt more calm. Once I did, I remember feeling struck by how authentic and how intense her first video seemed. I remember getting several minutes into it and feeling like I had to pause because I was too overwhelmed and triggered. And I commented saying that after getting a few minutes in, I felt like she was an extremely credible and believable survivor. And I said this based off of a bunch of different things, not just what she said, but also the way that she said it, her body language. It conveyed to me a certain authenticity that is hard to replicate. And hold on, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble talking because there's something in my eye. I just have to brush it away. I'm not trying to trigger anyone, but I really won't be able to go on if I don't deal with this. But, yeah, sorry about that. So, I then kept watching the video, and I got to the part where she talked about black mist or smoke and it being demonic. And I thought to myself that while I do not necessarily doubt the reality of the demonic and its role in MKULTRA, I thought that based off of my experiences at MK and the way that they stage and simulate certain things, that it was more likely than not that the memory that she was describing was something that was simulated in MKULTRA, meaning that what she went through was very real to her in that moment, and she was really being traumatized by it. However, I thought that it probably wasn't really actually a demonic entity in that moment. And so I decided that while it was important that I continue to support her, because I felt that she was very likely a victim of MKUltra, I felt that she probably was not deprogrammed enough to be completely credible in everything that she explicitly said, because I wasn't sure that she could properly contextualize it as having been simulated versus actually physically real. So I took a step back and decided that it was important that I be really measured in my responses to what she did. I want to pause here and say that my system is not all in one piece when it comes to this issue, and so I can only speak for myself and a few other alters in the system. There are other alters in my system who have watched other videos of her than the ones I've watched, and so they may have other things to say, but they can't come forward right now. So I just have to speak from the level of memory that I have, and I hope that you guys understand that. So the next video that I recall watching of hers was one where she was asking... Sorry, the sound of the train is really bothersome. I was hoping there wouldn't be any distractions during this video, but I guess it just was not so. So the next video of hers that I recall watching, she was talking about the Masons and calling on people to burn their temples down. And while I felt that if she was speaking from a genuine place of anger as a victim, that it was completely understandable that she would feel this way, and I did not judge her morally for that at all, I was still very concerned about the message that she was giving to people. And I left a comment on that video, I believe, saying that I found it concerning that she was advocating for people to do the literal opposite of what I have advocated for, which is nonviolent spiritual responses to this situation. I remember at the time I also noticed that she was speaking in a lot of Christian rhetoric, and while I'm not trying to get down on Christians right now, I want to be honest and say that because Christian reprogramming, I should say pseudo-Christian reprogramming, that's the phrase I mean, is so common in MKULTRA. It's such a common redirect for victims who are trying to get out. I was very suspicious that Karly had not been reprogrammed for this heavy Christian rhetoric, and that this is part of an MK thing. And so I continued to look out for what Karly was doing with concern, and I recall seeing something. It was through an altar, so I'm not really 100% sure what exactly was said, but I recall seeing something about how she was no longer advocating for people to do violence, and I found that very encouraging. I have a lot of memory missing here now regarding her videos, but I do recall recently looking at a video where she said that she was a clone. And I remember that one of the first things that I noticed was that she looked extremely different. There was something about her eyes that looked very different, and I picked up on what looked like a cue, basically, in her eyes for conscious dishonesty. And I thought to myself, that's interesting, because I didn't see it in that way in her videos before. And with her looking so different there, not just in her eyes, but her energy, it just made me feel, again, like perhaps she had undergone some kind of reprogramming. At this point, designed to make her look dishonest to other people. And I looked in the comments and I saw that, unlike a lot of her other comment sections, that one did not seem very moderated, if at all. And there were a lot of abusive comments going on and on about how people were sure that she was lying and sure that she was being malicious or that she was delusional, and still the comments were very mean, a lot of them regarding the idea that she could be delusional, which in my opinion is very sick because delusions are not actually under a person's control. But I recall commenting, saying, that regardless of what people think of what she's saying, if you guys had any idea what this is like, as in MKULTRA, you would not, I don't remember my exact words, but I told people off for being abusive. And I noticed that there was one commenter who repeatedly said that they thought that she was under MK programming to discredit herself. And I recall thinking, at least there's one person in the comments who seems to be exercising what I think to be the most likely possibility here. And that caused me to really take a step back and think very deeply about the situation, and I'm going to get emotional about it, so I'm really not going to say more. All of this leads me to talk about her most recent video where she talked about me. A part inside just reminded me that they noticed that she's posted 2 more videos since then. I have not been able to watch them. I haven't been able to watch most of her videos myself, personally. But I'm just going to speak on the video she did where she talked about me in the facility that I grew up in. This is going to be really hard for me, and I'm really not sure how capable I am of doing it, but I'm going to do my best. So, there's nothing in that video that I can personally verify based off of my memories. I don't have any memories of Karly from MK that I am conscious of. There are parts of my system who have said to us repeatedly that they think that they do know Karly from MK. They think that we do, as a whole, have memories of that. And they think that she is being used as some kind of disinfo/controlled opposition thing right now. But they think that she is an actual victim and that she is worth fighting for. But I don't have the memories that they have, and right now we're still in too much shock from all this to do much processing around it. We're in the midst of processing all this other stuff, and one of the things about it is that, in my experience with the people I grew up with, when they see me and other survivors doing really well in our recoveries, they will put things in our paths to throw us off so that we will redirect our focus from whatever we've been doing in our healing processes to whatever they have distracted us with. And I am concerned that perhaps this video was something orchestrated by handlers to try to throw me off from my process right now. And so one of the most important things that I can do to take care of myself and to keep moving forward is to not let this become too much of a focus in this moment. I plan to spend a lot of time going into these memories, trying to make sense out of what's happening in my system around it and make sure that I'm grounded in the truth. However, if I were to redirect all my focus onto that right now, I worry that I would be playing directly into my abuser's hands. So that said, I haven't been able to do much work with these parts that are saying these things, and so I can't even tell you for sure if what they're saying is true. I don't want to doubt them. I have a lot of trust in them. I don't think that they would lie about this, but I definitely am not comfortable representing them here until I have looked more deeply. But I will say a few things about the specifics of what Karly said. I know that she talked about meeting us at a cloning center. And I know that she talked a lot about cloning and clones. And this is a subject where I have a lot of shame and feelings of inadequacy because, try as I might, I have not been able to recover that much information about cloning from my past. I feel like it's one of the most basic subjects that I should have a lot of knowledge of and an opinion about. And my honest opinion is that I would be surprised beyond comprehension if the people I grew up with were not successfully cloning people for the last few decades. I think that is the most likely thing. However, I just can't seem to recover much memory about it. I have one flash of a memory, personally, that I, as an alter, hold, that if it is real, it would indicate either extensive cloning of humans or something else involving genetic engineering that I'm being blocked around talking about for some reason, so I'm going to move on from that. But I haven't been able to process it much, and I cannot tell anyone for sure whether it is real or simulated. So I really can't speak on that. I don't have memories of any cloning centers that I can speak on. And I want to be clear, though, that I'm in no way trying to invalidate anything Karly or anyone else has said about cloning. I just can't speak on it one way or another at this time. But if Karly is an MK victim, if Karly had experience with the facility that we grew up in, then it is very plausible that she could have known us there. I'm just not able to verify that, And I'm starting to get really triggered because I'm thinking now about the name that she used to refer to us, Jenna. It could be a real trap for me here, for my abusers, to try to get me to talk about this. And so I'm not going to say very much. I'm going to be careful with my words. I think that it is plausible that Karly and any other MK victims could know me under a variety of names from there, because we had alters and characters we were forced to play in various scenarios of a humongous number of names. However, I can't say anything about any parts of my system that were called Jenna at this time. I can't even say whether or not there were those parts. It's just not something that I can talk about. But I would like to say this. I very much ask people not to refer to me by that name. If you want to talk about what Karly has said and use the name Jenna when you describe what she said, that is fine. However, please do not actually call me that name. It has taken a tremendous amount of work for our system to integrate around the name that we use, which is the name that we were raised as on a front level.